All right, so we're picking up from Lamed Zayin Amud Bey's last line. Okay, Lamed Zayin Amud Bey is in Shabbos. We're going to do the case of Shachach. Okay, so just to be clear, you don't have to know that. You really don't have to know anything from before for this case. Okay, but it's an important case. It's a very difficult one. So maybe I'll bring it out if necessary. All right, go.
Where from?
Bo Minei Rebbe Chia Bar Abba. Last line. Everyone have it? Lamed Zayin Amud Bey is on the bottom.
Yeah. Bo Minei Rebbe Chia Bar Abba.
All right, so he has a question.
Right.
What's his question?
Shachach Kedera Al Gabe Kira U Lashla.
Right. The Shabbos.
Mahu.
So what's his question?
You forget a Kedera, which is like
A pot.
yeah, a pot that's on a kira on the oven, and it cooks on Shabbos. So you totally forget about it.
Mahu.
So
what do you do?
Yeah.
So okay, now what's the question? Now you translate the Gemara literally, but what's the question the Gemara is asking? What did you do or didn't do?
You did bishul.
What?
You didn't group between it.
Well, that's for sure. Okay. Yeah. You have an oven.
This is assuming it's not bishul.
You have a. Well, hold on. You have an oven. Okay. And the food was not machal ben drusai. Okay. So for now we'll call it raw. And what do? You accidentally left it on the kira from before Shabbos. Yes. But, well, you're saying that. Just watch what the Gemara says. But for now, yeah, a guy. It was b'shogeg. He accidentally left his food on the oven prior to Shabbos. Okay. Whatever. Who knows why? I don't care why he did it. No motivation here. It was an accident. Okay. Shachach. He forgot. Okay. Now the question is. Yeah, he forgot. One second. Now the Gemara says Mo. Now before we look at the Gemara's answer, what do you think? What should the answer be?
No.
So the Gemara says what? Mo. Ishtik.
Ishtik.
Velo.
Velo.
Amarle. Velo midi. What does that mean?
So it's like one line. I don't know what ishtik is.
You do. Shasak.
Oh.
Yeah. Shtika. Right. So he didn't say. He didn't respond. Right. He was thrown off by the question. Right. And he needed to think about it overnight. Next day he comes back. He's got an answer. Okay. Now just to get set. Okay. So to give a little preview, the answer he gives. Okay, is cryptic. So the Gemara is going to struggle with understanding what his answer was. Okay. This is going to be a very problematic Gemara. He's going to give an answer, but the problem the Gemara is going to have is what was his answer? It's going to be two ways to understand his answer. Okay. So the Gemara says, I'll get the board out soon. So the Gemara says what?
Nafak drashlahu.
So Nafak drashlahu. So he came back and he gave him a little drasha. Okay.
Hamavash shel b'Shabbos b'shogeg.
Yochal.
B'mezid lo yochal.
So what's the general lacha? So you guys are hinting this before. What's the general lacha by Shabbos itself? Let's say I cook on Shabbos. Let's say I make eggs on Shabbos. Okay? Are you allowed to eat it or not?
It depends
if it's on purpose or
right.
not.
So if I did it on purpose, right, I can't eat it. Right? But if I do it b'shogeg, I can. Well, so again, everyone understand that principle? What?
Is that when you can't eat it? Is that knas?
Hold on.
Is that when you
good thinking.
Is that when you put it on before Shabbos or you put it on Shabbos?
On Shabbos.
If you did do it, you're also
on Shabbos itself, b'mezid, you can't eat it, b'shogeg you can. So now what?
Obviously, by
you want to say obviously? Okay.
No, so it's not obvious.
I wish it were that easy.
Well,
watch.
Doesn't that make sense? Like if you can do
it
on Shabbos, then obviously you can do it before Shabbos.
When b'shogeg?
Yeah.
Okay, so watch. What Gemara says. Keep going.
Misa if you did it, amazing.
That's a separate issue. Okay.
Forget the death penalty. You can't eat your food.
Okay, so what does he say afterwards? He says.
Velo shna.
Now one second. What does velo shna mean? So that's the problem. What does no difference mean?
Well, two things are the same.
Right, but in what sense are they the same?
Well, you're asking what I mean. Two different.
Okay, he made the following statement. He said, "It's a great Gemara." He says what? He says, if I cook on Shabbos, okay, if I do b'mezid, I can't eat the food. If I do b'shogeg, I can. V'lo shna, and there's no difference
between mezid and shogeg.
Cooking itself.
Well, no difference. Well, what's no difference insofar as what is concerned? Well, you know he's comparing it to what?
The previous
to shahiyah,
yeah.
Right? But what?
It's the mezid case.
Is he? Okay, so look what the Gemara says. The Gemara says.
My.
So my v'lo shna. So what does that question mean?
How is it not different?
Meaning, what does v'lo shna mean? All right, look at Rashi.
Oh, okay.
Look at Rashi. V'lo shna.
Rashi says, v'lo shna. Aval hai tishachach Kadera.
So here, where the guy forgot the Gdera and Erev Shabbos, Loshna.
Ben Shogeg.
Okay, so 1 second. So slowly. So step 1 is, when he says Loshna, what does he definitely mean? It means that the differentiation on Shabbos is between Shogeg and Mazid. But therefore, on Erev Shabbos, there would be no difference between Shogeg and Mazid. Meaning that
You're saying on Shabbos there would be no difference?
on Erev Shabbos.
Erev Shabbos.
Okay, meaning that on Erev Shabbos, if I left it on the Kedera, whatever the consequence is the consequence. Or if I purposely cooked,
It's the same thing.
it would be the same thing. Okay?
Why does
Hold
it-
on, slowly. Let it develop, okay? So the first step Rashi's saying is what? When he says Lo Shna, what does Lo Shna mean? On Shabbos itself, there's a difference between Mazin and Shogeg. But on Erev Shabbos, there's no difference between Shogeg and Mazin. All right, is that clear?
Yeah.
Okay? Okay, so why do we care? I don't know yet. Let's go on.
In Rashi or the Gemara?
Go on Rashi.
Alright. The Haki Josh though.
Stama.
Stama.
So that would be the simple way to learn it out. Okay?
Velo Pirish I Ashogeg.
Yeah, good ashogeg midama lo mutter lo achla.
Amazed Medama.
Okay, smart guys. What's Rashi saying?
They're the same, but you don't know if Mazid is compared to Shagig or Shagig is compared to Mazid.
Okay, make it a little clearer. I know what you're saying because I know the Gemara.
I don't know what he said.
Okay.
So by Shia, we don't. So Mazid and Shagig have the same din, but on Shabbos, Mazid was you're not allowed to eat, and Shagig was you are allowed to eat it. So now that they're the same, doesn't mean they're the same. They're both like Mazid, or the same? They're both like Shagig.
You got that? Was it?
Don't we already know the facts amazing though?
No. So, okay, so say like this.
I'm still confused.
I'll explain about that. Because we know on Shabbos one thing. We know if I cook on Shabbos, okay, what happens if I cook on Shabbos? If I do it on purpose, what's the consequence? I can't eat forget that. I can't just worry about the food. I can't eat the food.
Okay.
Right? On Shabbos, if I do it b'shogeg, I can't eat the food.
Okay.
That's clear, right? Okay. What?
Bring korban.
From the Mishnah. It's a Mishnah. Okay.
But we also bring korban.
Forget that. Stop it. I don't care about that. I just care about the food itself. Okay. What's the status of the food? Again, so on Shabbos itself, there's a difference. If it's mazid, I can't eat the food, and if it's shogeg, I can't eat the food. Right? Again, so on Shabbos, if I cook food on Shabbos, if it's shogeg, I can eat it. If it's mazid, I cannot eat it. Clear? Okay. And the first step the Gemara makes is that he says v'lo shna, meaning that on Erev Shabbos, when I do shehiyah, okay, all we know is one thing. There's no difference, okay, between shogeg and mazid. Hold on. But so what's the suffix? What's the question? The question is, if I do inappropriate shehiyah, if I take, look for now, raw meat, and I put it on the kirah on Erev Shabbos, okay, the question is, how do I treat that food? Do I treat it like mazid food, which means that I cannot eat it on Shabbos, or I treat it like shogeg food, which means I can't eat it on Shabbos?
Shogeg.
And the Gemara says what? The Gemara says, Rabba v'Rav Yosef. Okay,
Right.
so they're going to give the first possible answer.
Rabbi Rav Yosef. De Amri. Tarvehu.
Travayu,
Lehetera.
Lehetera,
Mevashelhu. Daka.
Avid Maisa.
Maisa. B'mezid.
No, b'mezid lo yochal.
Aval Haidaloka. B'maisa. B'mezid.
Nami yochal.
Nami yochal.
Okay, so what's the difference?
That they say
What's the Gemara saying? What's the Gemara saying?
I never did an actual mice on Shabbos.
What do you mean no Maisa and Shabbos?
Because you lost it on four Shabbos. How
We
can
didn't-
she be with in Bishla? That's what you said.
Right, okay, because what she is lacking what?
She is lacking.
Let's take the case of Shachach for a second.
Any malach on Shabbos.
Well, it's lacking. Well, just deal with the Lashon of the Gemara. Don't get too fancy.
A Maisa.
There's no Maisa. Okay? In other words, so therefore, if there's no Maisa, if Shehiyah is not really a Maisa, okay, there's no action of Shehiyah, right? So therefore, what must you conclude? Whether or not I do it on purpose or accident,
Must be mutter.
the food should be okay to eat. Okay?
I'm confused why we're saying.
There's no Maisa by Shehiyah, there's no action by Shehiyah, so then you must deduce that even if I do the incorrect Shehiyah on purpose, the food should still be mutter. Correct? Okay? Clear?
No, was the sentence.
If you're telling me there's no Maisa, right? That I'm not doing an action, right?
Right.
again, this is assumption. He's saying Shabbos is an action. The action is the reason why you have this in place here.
Right.
Okay? But by Shehiyah, there's no action there.
So this, it's always Mazir?
So therefore, no matter how I mess it up, whether it's B'shogeg or B'mezid, the food should always be mutter to you. Okay? Okay, what's the other side?
So that's basically...
That's the easy side, by the way. Look at the other side.
That's weird. Okay. Right.
That's intuitive that she should be
Are we getting to
more
Knas?
Mekel and Besher, right?
Knas?
Knas.
We'll get to that.
Good.
Alright. And then we're at... Where? Oh, wait, Reb Nachman?
Yeah.
Yitzchak Amar. That Yisura Mevan Shalhu Jalo Asi Li'urma?
Right. B'shogeg yochal.
B'shogeg yochal aval hai Asi Li'urma B'shogeg.
This is crazy. This is a crazy reason. All right. What does the Gemara say? Anyone want to try to give a shot explaining what that means?
Can we translate that first?
Translate it.
Oh, I thought you were saying 1 second.
No, go ahead.
Translate?
Yeah.
It's coming for an Isser. We're learning now the Isser way, that their both should be considered mazid, like a mazid. Because there's no chance of you coming to... There's no possibility of a trick. If you do something mazid on Shabbos, you're going to die. If it's
Well, a person won't. Okay, look at Rashi.
Possible?
Look at Rashi. Rashi says, not talking about statistics. Rashi says, the lo asi lerume. He says, vlasos mazid. Right? The lo mar shogeg hayisi. Right? The lo nech shedu Yisrael al hashabasos. This is crazy. Rashi's saying this. Rashi's saying that a guy's not going to go ahead on Shabbos, right, and lie about what?
saying he did it.
Right.
Why?
Because when it comes to we're not concerned about Bnei Yisrael on Shabbos.
What does that mean? We're not.
Which when we go to
Like,
Muktzah, you'll see it's not true.
You
But
don't
anyway,
wait on Shabbos kind of thing.
no. In other words, we trust Bnei Yisrael on Shabbos. What? Because it's a deraisa.
Do you trust?
No, because
I'm really confused.
because since it's an Isser deraisa, so we know Bnei Yisrael won't mess around with those. They don't mess around with
If
them.
they did that, they might lie so that they don't die.
That's correct.
So there are no zeros on Shabbos.
That's not true.
We trust them.
I'm just quick, let the Gemara talk.
There's
All right.
no chance the guys are going to do what they're right.
But look what the Gemara says. But now what about the Rabbanans though? But the Asi Lirume, the Isser Rabbanan who? The Kilole. But when it comes to the Rabbanans, how do people look at the Rabbanans?
So they're like Karaites. Basically, they don't care.
Well, like the average Jew looks at a Rabbanan and he's not as concerned about it.
So he's
okay?
It's
Right, so Rashi says, right, so Rashi says, Asi shehuye b'mezid v'yom hashachachti. So what's he going to do? He'll purposely put food on Erev Shabbos that's raw, and then say, hey, I forgot. Right? Because he's not worried about being over the
That's the
Rabbanan.
Gemara that the Rabbanan were more stringent about.
The Gemara's second reason, the Gemara is saying, no, really, we're stricter by Shehiyah than we are on Bishul and Shabbos. Because Bishul and Shabbos, b'mezid, you can't have the food, but b'shogeg you can. By Shehiyah, right, according to the second way of learning, by Rav Nachman's way of learning, by Shehiyah, if you mess up shogeg or mezid, you can never have the food. Why? Because when it comes to Shabbos, right, Bishul and Shabbos, the average Jew will not lie. Okay, meaning that he'll never do a b'mezid and lie and say he did a b'shogeg. What?
What if he's a gambler?
Well, you're hitting on the real question here, which is I think what I told you, fasten your seatbelt, which sounds like a crazy thing. I mean, you're really telling me that. What does it mean that Jews are on deraisas? They're more they're more careful. When it comes to Rabbanans, people are more flippant. But what's the idea by Rabbanan? By Rabbanan, a person's more likely to lie. So because a person's more likely to lie by Rabbanan, what's the halacha? Halacha is that even if he messes up b'shehiyah b'shogeg, we still knas him. We still say he can't have the food. Okay.
Why?
What?
Why?
I'm very confused with this.
That's guy knows how to learn a little bit. That is the right question to ask. The right question to ask is, what kind of machlokas is this? When you have a machlokas, okay, you want to be arguing somewhat in the same arena. Okay, you want to say like, okay, well, all right, like let's say even when you have asr and mutter, but at least
the esrog this far.
Right, exactly, right. Okay, but at least talking about esrog. What are you talking about over here? The first side says that the reason why by shehiyah the food will always be mutter, even if you mess up, whether it's purposely or accidentally, is because there's no maisa. Okay? And the other side is saying that people will lie more by their abundance. Where do you begin to how to define this? Because they're talking about two different issues here. One is an issue in the halachic technical structure of the Isser. The other one's insofar as nihug of Bnei Yisrael.
First factual machlokas.
There's no.
In other words, what do they share in common? Okay, we know one thing for sure. We know that there is some sort of knas in place if you do the action. I don't mean Maisa, by the way. All right, if the action's done. Okay, there's some sort of a potential for knas. In other words, if I do, well, the question is, will it apply by shehiyah also? But we know by bishul on Shabbos, we know one. Let's just stick with bishul for now. We know there's a knas. Knas is d'Rabbanan. Let's keep that in mind. But there's a d'Rabbanan knas. If I do bishul b'mezid, I can't have the food. B'shogeg, there's no knas, right? Okay. So how would that apply by shehiyah? So you were kind of saying this, but I think there's the machlokas. The machlokas is like this. What? Machlokas. Now this is the key. One second. The knas for shehiyah is going to come from what? This is the key. What's it going to come from?
The knas for Shia?
Yeah. Where does it come from? No, I know it's the Rabbanan. I'm saying there's two logical possibilities, right? Did they create a new knas for shehiyah, or did
They extend it.
Okay, they extend it. Now it's clear. What's Rav Chia telling you? They extended it. In other words, the knas that exists by bishul on Shabbos, right? That same formulation, and we're going to use by shehiyah.
Did you say that?
So the first thing you have to understand, the first step to understand this, is to understand that the knas, this isn't a new knas by shehiyah, whether you hold it should apply or not. Point is, the idea of the knas, midrabanan, is simply just emulating this knas. Okay, that's why he looks to this first, because whatever applies by bishul, he's going to use to apply by shehiyah.
Extension.
Okay, an extension. Okay, an extension. Yes, that's what it is. That's why it's an extension. Okay, so now the question is looking at bishul. Okay, before we get to shehiyah, looking at bishul, what's the mechayev for the knas? Okay, is the mechayev for the knas, right? Is the mechayev the knas a maisa? Okay, or is the mechayev knas the production of food? Okay, there's a big logical difference between the two. Is the reason why you're getting knas is because I did an action of a forbidden action, okay, which therefore would mean that on Shabbos I'm chayav, but by shehiyah there's no maisa. There's no maisa shehiyah, right? Or do you say no? Do you say that it's the fact that there's now food that's been produced that now there's a knas kicks in, okay? Okay, so I don't want to make the next step until everyone gets that clear. Are you being penalized for the action of I put food on fire on Shabbos, okay? Or am I being penalized for the fact that now there's a production of food, that there's food produced? What do you mean, why would that matter? So the next step is, if you say it's a maisa, right? So then, what do we know about shehiyah? There's no maisa there. So therefore what? There's no knas, all right?
But if
Again, there's no knas to extend because there's no action. A knas can only go on the maisa. But if you say it goes based on the production of food, now hold on slowly now. Okay, slowly. If it goes based on production of food, then we can start talking about a knas
But
by
that's not an
shehiyah.
action.
Now comes the next step, the final step. Okay, if it goes based on the produced food, so now there's room to say there might be something here. Before we get to that though, if it goes based on the produced food, so why is it by b'shogeg here, right? B'shogeg here. Whereas, what would you really? Okay, if it goes based on the production of the food, what should Chazal want to do? No, what should Chazal want to do in bishul? Asur. That's really what they. Yes, ideally, right? Whereas, what would they want to do? They would want to say, you know what? Across the board, I have produced food. So what do I care if it was mezid or shogeg? But why don't they? So you understand what I'm trying to do? I'm trying to flip the question around. Why wouldn't they apply knas here? Okay, and this is what Rashi's telling you about the chashad deraisa.
Because only if it's
stop you
intentional.
from doing a shogeg.
Or let me answer John's question. Why do they not differentiate between shogeg and mezid here by the Rabbanan? Why not? I don't care which one you want to answer first.
Because he might lie.
What?
He might lie.
Because it might be mazed.
Well, why would you lie here? Why would you lie here?
Because
don't
so
care
you
about
can
their
benefit.
What do you mean you don't care about? No, but think carefully though. Look at that's not true. They do care about Rabbanan in other places. You're saying what is it about this Rabbanan?
Subjective.
This Rabbanan.
It's subjective.
Why this
You could
Rabbanan?
say-
Because this Rabbanan seems to only be a deterrence from that deraisa.
Okay, good. Now let me ask you a question. Come on, we have to remember what we've done before. Okay, what is? I'll give it away right now. What's a chashash shehiyah? Right, Shem Yechata, right?
what-
So
translate.
that I'm going to stoke the coals.
Okay.
Right. So what's the guy going to say on Erev Shabbos?
I'm not talking about
I'm not going to stoke the coals. In other words, there's a guy understands that when it comes to Durbanan, what's the purpose? You guys can definitely relate to this. What's the purpose of Durbanan? It's preventative. So what's the guy going to say? He's going to say, listen, okay, I put the food on, right? But why would he lie about it? He's not lying about it because he's a horrible person. He's lying about it. He's going to say, listen,
I'm not doing
I'm not going to stoke the coals. Right? I'm not going to stoke the coals. Right? That's the lie.
He's not cooking on.
Right? You understand?
Yeah.
Right. That's the lie he's going to make. But by Doraisas, right? We don't say. Why don't we say that by Doraisas? You said it before. Why won't Chazal knas you by shogeg by Doraisa?
Because if you're
Because
the
he's
guy who's
legitimately
gonna
not going to do it.
If you're the type of guy who's going to do a deraisa, then you're not going to be listening to the Knas. The Knas is not going to stop
Exactly.
you from doing the deraisa.
Exactly. If you're a guy who's over Isurei Doraisa, right? So the Knas, the least of your worries is, what am I going to do about the food?
He's going to still eat it. He doesn't care.
Right, exactly. He's not going to care. So there's no reason for the Knas to exist by someone who did a b'shogeg. But by Durabanan, since what's a guy going to say? He's going to say, 1 second, Shema Yachteh, I'm not worried about that. I'm not going to stoke the coals. So that's why Chazal say the Knas has to exist even if it was shogeg.
You're going to lie the same much. It's just that's not going to deter you from lying.
Right. There's no reason for the rationale for the Knas makes no sense here, because if a person's going to do something in Issa D'Oraisa of a Mazid, he's not thinking about, he's going to eat the food. Doesn't matter to him.
Right.
I mean, he's already in that zone, right? But here, by the Rabbanan, what's a person going to think? It's a very natural emotion if you think about it. The person says, listen, I put the food on. Yeah, I'm not going to mess with the coals. I know that. Don't worry, Rabbanan, I'm not going to mess with the coals. So because of that mentality, that's why the Knas exists. That's what it means. There's no difference between shogeg and mazid. What it means is that, of course, there's a difference in the nature of the action. What it's saying is that in a person's mind, right? Because a person will view the mazid no different than shogeg, meaning he'll say, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and do it on purpose because I know I'm not going to do stoking the coals, right? That's why there's no differentiation between the two. Gotcha. Oh no, so if the Knas is on first of all, the first step is what's the machlokas? Right, the machlokas is what's the Knas on? Is it on the Maisa or the food? If it's on the Maisa, there's nothing else to talk about over here. Okay, if it's on the production of the food, now we have to look at the what is the Knas accomplishing? Okay, if we look at based on the production of the food. So in this realm over here, okay, what's the purpose of the Knas? I don't mean philosophically. What's the Knas doing? Right? Right, the Knas, you wouldn't want the guy to benefit from the food. But the thing is that if a guy is B'Toras Mazid, right, he's not going to, if he's already over Nisha D'Oraisa, the Dorabana Knas isn't going to function as some sort of, lack of incentive. He doesn't care, right? But here, by Dorabanan, right, see, that's what I was saying before. The right question to ask is not why there's no difference here. But the question you're supposed to ask is, why is there a difference here? If we go by the production of food, why should we be more makel by shogeg? Oh, the reason why is because the guy who does it b'mezid, the least of his issues is going to be being over D'Rabbanan. But here, when it comes to D'Rabbanan and Shehiyah, what's a person, he can easily rationalize to himself. He can say, oh, I put the food on purpose, but guess what? I'm not so worried about what they're worried about. I know I won't stoke the coals. Okay? That's how you define this. Well, I want to show you from a methodology standpoint, okay? From a methodology standpoint. It's a great example of, first of all, that's why you never say it's a factual machlokas, okay? Second of all, when you see something like this, okay, this is the kind of thing where, again, I'm not quite as emphatic as John is, but when I first saw this, I'm like, the first question I had was like what Avi was asking. Well, how do you define this? Because you look like you have two positions which are light years apart. But the first step is to not hyperventilate, take a step back, and then try to get to the core point. So what I'm showing you here is that, I think I haven't liked this far a lot, but what I'm trying to show you here is that the trick is to get caught in here. That's the trap. Trap is to get caught in Shia. What you really got to do is take what Rav Chia says to us. He says, look at Bishul on Shabbos. Start with Bishul on Shabbos. Use that as your starting point. And if you understand how the Knas works, then you can understand. And then you can understand what Rashi's talking about. When Rashi's not pulling every Jew. What Rashi's saying is that, and you guys can all relate to this, when it comes to D'Rabbanan, right, it makes a lot of sense. D'Rabbanan is much easier to rationalize.
It makes a lot of sense that it doesn't make a lot of sense.